Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
We've got a couple more folks joining here, so we'll get them in and then we'll get started here.
Good afternoon.
Hey, Scott, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, good.
What's up,
Good.
CBO?
Not much today, Josh. Just
You seemed
trying
really,
to.
I'm glad you have something to do. You seemed really bored the other day.
Yeah, yeah. It's just not enough to do, right, Josh?
Always.
Idle mind is the devil's playground too, right?
Yeah, we say that now, don't we?
Yes. All right. So we have 20, 24, and it looks like we have a few more joining. So what I'll start out with is just kind of level setting where the latest and greatest documents are, and then we'll go and look at the attributes file itself, and I'll open it up for questions after that. So we'll to make sure that you have the latest and greatest. Um, Please reference this page that I just put in the chat. What you'll look for is the new network design attributes schema. We posted that on February 18th. After getting a couple of updates from folks that we didn't have path, and we realized that the file had been changed, and unbeknownst to us and not validated, that it deleted some of the things that we needed in there. So we've re-uploaded it. We have the schema now. And also, you will want to reference the Provisional Grantee Onboarding Guide that's also found at this page. So, those two in conjunction with each other should at least get you started. And hopefully, today's session will answer any questions that you have. And if we look at the attributes file, there's serviceable locations layer, there's a backhaul locations. And you'll notice that there's one for fiber, there's a different one for fixed wireless. A lot of it is the same information, but we do have a specification that there are different types of program projects, so we wanted to allow for that. There's backhaul locations for Leo, and then path layer attributes, the polygon attributes, and then finally the node attributes that are the different layers. And you'll notice also for nodes, you have fixed wireless, LEO, and fiber. And then was pointed out, this is more of uh, I would say a file that is not on the layers, but is basically an inventory. Oh, let's see, what was it referred to yesterday? It was a add-on kind of inventory file that we would like to see so that we can, kind of keep track of what the that we're not missing anything in the layers, but this is just more of a node equipment inventory. It's kind of an add-on, if you will. Um, let's see. Where would you guys like to start? You want to just start at the serviceable location, start going through, and if you have any questions on it, we answer them, or would you rather me just open it up and just start shooting questions out? Kate,
I've
you've got your
got,
hand up.
I know I've got multiple questions, so for me, starting at the beginning, if we go through it, if I have a question, I'll ask then.
Okay. All right. And Kate, you have your hand up.
Yeah, just really quickly on the Node equipment inventory, we had already uploaded ours and we put that in the attributes layer
Okay.
for the
That's
Polygon.
fine. Yeah,
Okay,
that's fine. Yeah.
cool. Thanks.
Paul, there are some required layers in the PE certification letter that are not on this spreadsheet. Um, can you come off mic
Yeah.
and yeah,
So I'm looking at the P certification letter on what page is this? Page 2. It says, there's a bullet point completeness. The network design and architectural diagram include all of the information required and outlined in that BEAD grant agreement preparation next step certified network design. So if you click that link, it takes you to another page that defines some of the information that should be in this design. And it looked, I think there was maybe a little bit of difference between that spreadsheet and this.
There might be, yes. But if I go down, there's network assumptions, there's network design. Okay, point layers, serviceable locations, backhaul, path layers, that's there, polygon layers, and the nodes were added. That's correct.
Okay. So if we do the GIS data in a aligning to that spreadsheet, that's what you're after, really. Like we could just look at that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. Um, the node layer was added after this document was produced, and we didn't go back and update it. Sorry about that. Um, and what we were looking at the node layer is, and I guess just to level set, a node is going to be anywhere that you have equipment that will route traffic somewhere, if that makes sense, like your cabinet or a carrier neutral location, something like that. That's what I would consider a node. Handholds, things like that are not a node. That's probably more like a splice point or a junction, if you will. There's no routing equipment there or routable equipment there, if that makes sense.
I think for me, prior to the February 18th update, I thought node attributes were required as like all splice locations. But this update makes that more clear now, I think.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. We would like to see splice locations, but it was brought to our attention that maybe not all the splice locations are known. So, if there's splice locations that are in the design, like you can't pull 25 miles of fiber in one strand. You're going to have a splice point somewhere where you potentially have access to the fiber. That's what we're looking for. And then we know that after you get through designing it and you build it, there are probably going to be other splice points that you can update at a later time.
Okay.
Adam?
Yeah, on that same note, so is it the intent of the CBO that post-construction that there's going to be a new uploaded files, to update on what the final, install looks like for everything?
Yes, Adam, what we're expecting is this first review is more of a review of capabilities and throughput, bandwidth capabilities, that what was in the application, what's being proposed, can truly be delivered. We realize that even after NEPA review, there may be changes to this, that you've got to route a different way to route around a wetlands or an endangered species area. Then you would update it at that point, or you would update your as-built at the very end of the project.
And continuing on with that, I mean, given that most companies, obviously, money hasn't been shelled out to pay for, the actual engineering, design to go out and stake it, build it, et cetera. And maybe there's even providers who don't really know what their customer prem equipment is going to be. They know what kind of capabilities they want to have, but maybe they don't know the model number and everything else yet. Is the CBO going to be, I guess, strict on the initial, submittal that's being provided for, the sub-grantee agreements to be signed, given that a lot of the details of this haven't been fully, determined, other than obviously the high-level prelim design that was required at time of the submission of the original BEAD applications.
What I would say on that point is, if you have a standard CPE package that you provide today, that's what we would look for, not the specific one that you're going to deploy. But just be cautious that we're going to look at that make, manufacture, and model. And if you're saying you're going to do 10 gig to the location, I'm just using a very large number just for exaggeration points, and you put in there a router that's not capable of handling a 10 gig, we're probably going to ask some questions at that point. Does that make sense, Adam?
Yeah, and also in that, I mean, I guess along that same line, like we're planning out these routes and we've got, fiber count now, yet
Mhm.
like during the engineering process, sometimes that's, as we iterate, do the count work, there's going to be sometimes changes in what that
Yeah.
fiber count's going to be,
Yep.
maybe from the prelim design. So is the CBO going to be, I guess, is it acceptable to CBO? We're putting forth our best uh, estimate
Yes.
of what is going to be installed versus what
Yes.
actually is at the very end.
Yes, that is correct, Adam. I guess I should probably make this statement as well. This is out of the norm to ask for this much detail on a network design prior to doing a field review and everything. We understand that. It's just understand that we have requirements that have been given to us that we have to fulfill, and this is one of those requirements. So we get that things are not going to look the same at
Okay.
midway through the project. We know that.
Okay, and that was my main concern with all the data, because
Yeah.
I'm sure others on the call are probably, when you look through the requirements, I'm sure a lot of people raise their eyebrows and we're kind of like, oh well, that's not fully,
Yeah.
determined, and I don't
Yep.
want to
No,
get in trouble for
exactly.
when I don't know for sure, and we're acting in good faith.
Yeah.
So if CBO understands that and is communicated
Yes.
that, then that's pretty
Yes.
acceptable to us. So that was
Yeah.
our main concern. So thank you for answering that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'll even go as far as to say, Adam, as an engineer, my background and everything, when I realized that we had to do this ahead of the agreement being signed, I almost came out of my skin because it's just backwards. It is completely
Yeah.
backwards. So yeah, we were just looking for your best effort to give us the information that will prove that the network that you plan to build will provide and be capable of providing the service that you're planning to provide the end users and carry you into the future, you know?
Okay, that's
Yeah.
perfect, and I'm glad you can share and understand that from an engineer perspective. So thank you,
Yeah.
Michael.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. So we had a request that to start at the serviceable locations layer, and we'll go down from there. And I keep calling them layer. I'm not a GIS person. I just think I can spell GIS, so I'll call it a layer, and then next time I'll call it a location or a node. You can correct me if you guys want to, but just know I'm not a GIS expert. Um, so on the service location, so what we would be looking at on there on that is each one of the locations that you we are funding with the BEAD funding is in this list of locations with these attributes. Uh, Location ID, Fabric ID should have that. Location Latin lawn, building type. I think the SFU stands for single family unit. I think we don't call it that in some circumstances, but it should be identified in the fabric map of what you have available to you. Uh, if the location is served or passed only, that would be notified there. Excuse me. On a question that I received on the past only, I was asked how critical is that going to be, or how stringent are we going to be that it's 250 feet and can be served? I would say if there's any doubt and it's within 250 feet, put it on there. We're not holding you to that. It's just to give us an idea of how many locations that potentially could be served from this line that's being funded. An example that was given to me was what if it's on the other side of a river, or if it's in a neighborhood on another road and the houses are back to back? You would not want to encroach on someone else's property without legal utility rights. So just keep that in mind. Um, and then the CPE package. We have had one submit that they put the type, manufacturer, and model all in one line, separated by commas. They didn't have this format, so we'd like for it to be separated out if you can, please. And then on the ERP, this is for fiber, for wireless only, fixed wireless only. I would not expect that to be in a fiber build, but in the wireless, we definitely would like for you to put in what you expect that CPE equipment to have as far as an EIRP. Any questions there? Okay, served equals subscriber. No, served does not equal subscriber. Served is you've passed it, and by the definition of the FCC, you could provide service to that customer in a reasonable time frame once they request the service. Subscriber is once you've already signed them up. So this is the locations that are within the 250-foot buffer that we're providing funding for. You've passed them and you can serve them. That's what's considered served, Laura. Does that answer your question? Because I kind of went in a circle there.
Yeah,
Well,
I think so. I do want to just clarify because it's a little confusing to have served or passed. So these would
Mhm.
then all be passed, right? Or if you're looking for the funded locations versus served, I just want to make sure that we're getting you the right attributes for this.
So in this case, served is equivalent to funded.
Okay, perfect.
Passed is just an incidental passing that will not be funded by BEAD, but it could be served if they ask for
Thank you.
it. Mhm.
okay, and just to further, in other words, those funded locations are like the awarded locations, right?
Yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
great.
So are you asking us to put extra locations on that could be passed but are not on the grant?
That are what? I'm sorry.
Okay, every location that's on the grant should be served.
Hmm.
None should be passed. So are you asking us to put on extra locations that we are potentially passing that were not part of the grant?
Yes, if you refer to the document, I believe we put in there a 250-foot kind of not radius, but a 250-foot buffer that if you're passing a location that was not requested for BEADS funding and you know that location is there, we'd like to see you listed as passed so that we know that it's part of this um,
Got it.
potential. Does that make sense? Okay. Any other questions on the locations? All right, we'll go to the backhaul fiber then. So what this is it's backhaul locations for fiber grants, or it's backhaul locations for fixed wireless, and the same for LEO if there's a backhaul location. We're just looking for that point to be identified somewhere and give us these attributes if you can. Um, well, not if you can. We need these attributes. Sorry. We define these attributes based on engineering requirements and to fulfill the NTIA requirement that we can certify the network will give and provide the service. So please provide this information. On the backhaul, the node name is a unique node name that you give it. And we understand that some of the applications that we've said we will accept that format may not accept this many characters. Summarize the best you can, and if it creates a duplicate, just rename it, whatever makes sense for you, and then we'll work from there. Again, Latin lawn, type of equipment. Is it an OLT? Is it a cabinet? Let us know what this backhaul location is. We've seen one where they listed the carrier neutral location. That's a perfect example of a backhaul location. Once you get to that point, we know that it's riding either the Alpine Loop or the Thor network to get back to Denver or Salt Lake. So that gives us enough information on the backhaul to know what's involved. Yes, Adam.
Okay, so you don't need like the where the internet exchange is heading back to. You just want to know where we're connecting to initially to run this network to provide these locations.
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
thank you.
Yep. And, the port type, that's going to be of significance. I think that was missed in previous versions as well. But, if I'm just going to give a very simple example. If there's 100 served locations off of one of these nodes or backhaul location, and there's a 1 gig link or port, it's probably not going to provide 100 by 20 for those 100 locations. So that's the kind of things that we're looking for. That just validates that we have a network design that is going to work. If that makes sense to everybody.
I don't know how to raise my hand on these things if I am. So we are going to be feeding OLT out of a hub cabinet to the locations to a PON cabinet. Are you saying we need to go all the way back to our head end also to show that point, or just to the OLT?
To the head end, please, Chris.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So if you have multiple OLTs, there would be multiple backhaul locations that are listed as an OLT, and then you'd go back to your head end. That would be a backhaul location on the head end. That would probably indicate our last backhaul location. I would assume either it's going to be a carrier neutral location or it's going to be a location that you've built on your own. But that's pretty much what we're looking for, Chris.
Now, I've got another question. Is the state going to be looking at, you mentioned earlier, if you got a 1G, you've got 100, customers that you're trying to feed off that one port, obviously that could be problematic and likely won't supply all of them. I mean, is the state also taking into account that there's going to be a little bit of a, you know, kind of a distribution of obviously we're not taking like a calculation saying, well, 100 by 20, so we're going to say only 10 customers can come off of 1G circuit, right? Because there's going to be a overlap of when clients, or customers are going to be using, that bandwidth. So is there going to be a little flexibility as far as that goes, or are they going to be very strict in the sense like you have to have 100 always dedicated to that one, to the 10 customers?
No, it's not going to be a number of customers times 100 times what, to get the total bandwidth that you need. I'm going to take you guys way, way back to voice engineering. When we did switches and networks, we did a P.01, which meant that we were going to block 10% of the calls. We realized that not all 100 users are going to be on simultaneously. Not all 100 users are going to hit download of that mega file at the exact same time. There's going to be some interlay, and and that's what we're looking for in your network summary and description. What assumptions you made. Did you make an assumption that it is a 10-to-1 or something like that? Does that answer your question, Adam?
Yeah, that does. Thank you.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I forgot to mention that along with these attributes, we're also using the summaries that you guys provide. And those summaries are detailed to what assumptions you made, how you designed it, what assumptions you made when you were designing it. That's going to help us make the determination. Like, for example, if you put in your assumption that you have 20% simultaneous users and we see 100 users, then we would conclude that 20 of those users are simultaneously, and that's the throughput that we'd be looking for, Adam, around that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I heard a ding, so I'm making sure I didn't get any questions, but it looks like it was just another notification on my email, so apologize. And then last on the backhauls is upload and download capacity. If you look at this example here, they're doing a 4-to-1, 4 download, 1 upload. You may be symmetrical, so that's put in what's capabilities are, and we'll go from there. And it's pretty much the same for fixed wireless and Leo. I didn't see any differences there, so those are all the same. When we get to path layer attributes, though. All right, so on the path layer for both fixed wireless and fiber, and I know a lot of folks are saying there is no path on fixed wireless. Well, there's a unseen path that goes from your transmitter, your tower to the end user. And that's where the ERP and other information is going to come into play for our from the locations, the information. But on the path layer, what we're looking for is what type of facility is it? Is it aerial, underground, wireless? Is it your primary or secondary or backup path? And we did change this. A question came in that we originally had primary or secondary path, and then we changed it to backup. That's my fault there. As an engineer, I synonymize secondary and backup to where they mean the same to me when I'm looking at a network diagram or talking about one. So that's uh, my engineering faux pas, if you will. So primary or secondary, aka backup path. They're all the backup and primary and secondary are synonymous to me. So if it's new or existing, and then when we get down to and the year can be an estimated year. It doesn't have to be an exact year if you don't know the exact year. And then the right of way owner. If it's a right of way other than your own, which I doubt a lot of us have our own right of ways to put fiber on, we're just looking for if it's pole owner is Excel, put Excel in there for that link. And you can segment those links if there's multiple pole owners that you're going across. If you're going across Excel, and I'm going to try to an example that's probably not going to make sense, but let's just say you're going across Excel and DMEA, for example, then just segment the line to where you could put in the different company for that segment. Estimated fiber count, and then capacity upstream and downstream if there's any routing or any expectations there. Paul?
I had a question. Yeah, so is this path layer, are you looking for a path from the network head end to like an OLT and then from the OLT to the cabinet and then the cabinet to each BSL?
Uh, yes and yes and yes. Yes.
Okay.
Hopefully that answered. Yes, Macy.
Hello.
Hey.
So to clarify, are you saying that the path layer for wireless needs to include last mile service? I think I heard you just say that.
Well, I don't think on a fixed wireless on the last, I mean, when we get down to the polygon and using the path layer and the polygon, we're going to be able to tell.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess
So
I was confused by that comment.
yeah,
I understood that for the path layer for wireless, you would just want to see the backhaul links was my assumption.
yeah. If you're going to multiple towers and they come back to an aggregation point, then go to your head in, we would want to see something like that. Or if they come back, all of them come back into a head in uh, device somewhere, Macy.
And then for fiber, you are looking for drops because we don't typically,
Yeah.
because those can vary so much, we don't typically have those, but I mean,
Yeah.
we can of course include them if they're required.
Yeah. No, I think I misspoke there. What I would be looking for is the fiber path as it traverses through that project area, that polygon, if you will,
Hmm.
and it passes a location. I would expect to see a fiber path that goes, like, let's say, for example, you're going down one road and you have houses on both sides, and I'm pointing to the houses on both sides, as you can see. Um, you'd have a path that goes from your head in down through your OLT, then down to the end of that road.
Hmm.
You wouldn't show the paths to each one of the houses. We
Okay,
don't
so
need that.
basically what you're looking for is from the head end to your essentially your backbone to the OLTs feeding your laterals.
Yes.
So, okay, makes
Yes.
sense. That's all I've
Okay.
got. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks. Yes, Adam.
Um,
You,
Sorry, I just realized I was on mute when I started talking. Thanks for clarifying that we don't need the drops
yeah.
as far as this layer goes. One other question I had was, we need to have right-of-way information on every single path, given, you know, money hasn't been dished out to, a permitting agency, and, some of the internet service providers don't do some of this work, self-perform it or do it in-house. Uh, they haven't dished out that money to like an engineering firm to do the permitting. I mean, how complete does that need to be, I guess? Or obviously it'll be complete at the end once everything's figured out, but
Well, in the application, there were some assumptions that the ISPs made, and they had a preliminary design, and we asked them to tell us which permits and right-of-ways and things like that that they were going to anticipate. So we would be looking for the same thing here. What do they anticipate? Like if you did a aerial design and you're in an area and you know that the electrical provider there that has electrical poles that you can attach to is um, San Luis Valley, then I would expect that that line is assumed that it's going to be on San Luis Valley, and that's what we would look for there. If
okay.
it changes, it changes. We realize that it's potentially going to change because they may say no, and you have to go underground and do a different right of way.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Okay. And then I went too far. The polygon layer, I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. I think it's just the color coding outline of the project area that encompasses the locations that are going to be funded by the grant. And then we're going to get into the node attributes. So when we went back to the engineering group that is going to be validating all of this, they asked us to add the node attributes. And whenever I first heard the request, I was like, well, why don't we want the node attributes? And then they started explaining it, and I was like, yeah, I guess it would help. So we went ahead and added this. We want you to do your best effort to complete this for the nodes that are involved in this project. But like I said, you don't have to go back past the head end device because once you're at the head end device, we know you have network that goes out and it may be a ring, it may be a collapsed ring, but you still have network that goes out and goes back to an inter exchange point somewhere. Do
I
you
just
want me
want
to
to
go
wait.
through all of these, or do you guys comfortable reviewing these and asking any questions?
Well, I do have a couple
Okay.
questions, but
Okay.
I mean, when you're talking node attributes, when it talks about location served, are we in total fiber miles? We're talking about the BEAD area we were going to be building, right? Or do we want to be no? Do you need to know everything out of that hub?
No, just the what's been funded by this BEAD application. So if you have a node that's split between two applications, if you will, we would expect to see probably the same node and maybe a different number of ports or different number of locations served. Does that make sense, Chris?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. If a single span of cable crosses multiple right-of-way owners, are you expected to split that cable in the right-of-way boundary, or do you want us to put multiple row owner values in the attribute? I will tell you the answer that I've received from our engineers is segment it by right-of-way owner. If that is not possible, please, you can separate them by commas in the right-of-way owner, and then we may be asking some questions for you to explain it. So if you explain that in your summary, then it would be more clear. But if you segment it, it's definitely going to be probably the preferred, most clear. Do you have anything else on that, Gabriel, or are you okay?
I think that
Okay.
makes sense. Appreciate it.
Okay. Uh-huh. Yeah, I just know that some of these applications or some of these programs have limitations on how many characters you can put in an attribute. So if you have, Excel, comma, uh, Poudre Valley, comma, and you have three others, it may limit you, and you're not able to give us all of it. So just keep that in mind, Gabriel. And for fixed wireless, I believe it's the same. But it's not the same. So when you get into a fixed wireless node, what we're looking for there that's different than the fiber is, of course, the sector, the band, uh, the channel bandwidth, the height of the antenna, the azimuth, and then everything else seems to be the same after that. That's going to help us understand, like when you do your summary and your assumptions, that if you're doing four sectors and each sector can aggregate um, the each sector can aggregate so much bandwidth, it's going to be helpful for us. What is the difference between node attributes and backhaul locations? Well, a backhaul location could be a CNL or some other location, Laura, that does not have the, like in a fixed wireless example, will not have sectors and everything at that location. In a fiber, it could potentially be a carrier neutral location, or it could be a third party location that you've partnered with to purchase bandwidth. And what equipment did you put at that node? Does that help?
It does. Thank you.
Okay. And last but not least, um, we do have node attributes for Leo. Um, on the Leo, if you have any questions, just let us know. But hopefully, you'll be able to get this information from your engineering and design teams, and they'll be able to provide this without too much difficulty. Um, and then the node inventory, if you've put it in with your node, that's in the diagram, that's fine. It can be an adjunct data set, if you will, that just gives us a little bit more detailed information. And I'm going to pause there and let you guys kind of mull over everything that we've talked about and discussed and answer any additional questions that we have. Yes, Adam.
So the layers that are marked as being a table, I assume in just like an Excel, worksheet or workbook would be sufficient as far as what we're providing.
Megan, I'm going to ask a question of you for that. Since I'm not a GIS expert, their attributes, I mean, when you generate or create a layer and you create the service location, let's say, you can add attributes to that dot because that's what it represents to me as in GIS terms, technical terms, it's a dot.
Yeah, let me rephrase the question.
Okay.
So obviously different layers can have different type of like is it a point feature? Is it a line feature?
Mm-hmm.
For the layer type for this table or for this particular layer is called a table. So from a GIS perspective, I mean, that's looks more like metadata, I would assume. But the question it more so is, it's not a point feature, it's not a line feature, it's not a polygon feature, it's a table.
Mm-hmm.
So the format in which we provide it to you, would that be, I guess, adequate if we provided it to you as like an Excel workbook?
Yeah.
In the form, that has tables in there.
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't include it in your attributes like was previously mentioned, you want to give it to us as a table, we can take it as a spreadsheet. Yes. Just as long as what I would be looking for is can I find that node name, that node ID that you gave it? Can I find it in my node layer or attributes? But then I would get that additional information.
Aren't those
Yeah, it's
parameter?
basically a table you could join to any of the node tables to give that additional information.
Okay, that was another question. So you'd be fine if we combine basically this table of node equipment inventory with an actual node layer.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
And Paul, I saw you speaking, and then Macy, you have your hand up, so we'll get to you.
That answered my question. I think we.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right, Macy, you're next.
Thanks. My question is just partially answered as well regarding the table. I do need a quick point of clarification. So if we've got a OLT inside a cabinet, do you need a point for the OLT and a separate point for the cabinet? So we would effectively have two overlapping points, or how are you guys wanting that?
Um,
Because I mean, the cabinet's just housing it, right? So,
yes, right. So if you did a node and you had an OLT,
right, because it says OLT there, but then farther down it references cabinets in that table that we were just looking at. And so, yeah, because they're under equipment type, it's got cabinets included in there.
mhm, and the inventory, node inventory. So the node itself is the OLT because that's what's going to be distributing service, right? So if you have other information at that node, you could put them in this table here. I hope that makes sense.
Well, so if we're just appending the attributes from the node equipment inventory to the points table, I guess no, that doesn't answer my question.
Okay.
It sounds like, because I mean, we wouldn't put in, I guess it just doesn't, sorry, it just isn't making
Okay.
sense to me. It sounds like in order it sounds to me like we do need to have two overlapping points. But yeah, I'm just not seeing how else it'd be possible. But on the other hand, would that be confusing then to have two overlapping points? So, and similarly, like, if we've got a CNL, you need a point for the CNL, and then you need a point for any equipment that's going in the CNL. Again,
Yeah.
are we looking at two overlapping points?
Yeah. No, I don't think we're looking for two different points. Um, let me get that back to you. That's you've actually stumped me, Macy.
Can I ask Michael, you don't need a point at the splitter, at the passive optical splitter, just at the electronic set at the head end. So sometimes we call the splitter cabinet a cabinet
Hmm.
or an FDH, but yeah, you wouldn't need a point for the splitter.
No, if you give me the node and tell me you're going to tell me the split. Where was the split at? I saw it. Where was it at?
Split ratio line 83.
Line 83. Okay. You're going to tell me the split ratio. So what I'm doing is I'm assuming that at that location, you told me it's an OLT and you've got a 16-to-1 split. You've got a splitter there. You've got all the other material and equipment there. I don't need a separate node for it. Does that help, Macy?
No.
No? You still stumped me then. Okay. Doggone it. All right. Well, I've got one question that I need to um, get an answer for, and that is if you have multiple types of equipment at a node, do we want a separate node for each, or do we want to combine them somehow? And how does that look? Is that the
Yeah,
question,
and
Mason?
well, I'll give an example. I think that's maybe the easier way to frame it. Again, if you have a cabinet that contains an OLT, do you need two overlapping points or one point that combines attributes for both?
Yeah, one thing,
Yeah.
if I can jump in here, I wonder if you could kind of treat the cabinet as um don't we have a layer that just has the points and then you can associate multiple node attributes with a single point?
Well, I
But
think
Maisie, to me, it sounds like you want to have like one point for the cabinet and then have something else that tells us like here are the here's the list of equipment inside this
No.
one cabinet.
I mean, I'm just picturing this in tabular data, right? So I've got my shapefile or what have you. I've got my spatial data. I'm looking at the tabular data that's associated with that point.
Yeah.
And so typically, I'm just thinking, okay, so if we've got an OLT and a cabinet at the same coordinates, are those going to be two separate points with unique attribute values in each? Or is it going to be one point with combined attribute values? So in that instance, in the node type would be, if we scroll down to where the table is, it'd be like OLT underscore cabinet or some such, right? Or in the example of having two overlapping points, we would have one point with the equipment type of OLT and a second point with the equipment type of cabinet.
Okay.
Are the cabinets even a required node attribute?
Well, and that was another question that I had, but again, in the node equipment inventory table, it does list cabinet as an example. So my assumption there was that yes, a cabinet is required because CDO is specifically listing it in the node equipment inventory description field.
So I'm going to go out on a limb here. If you identify a node is node 123, and you tell me it's an OLT, but you have other stuff there. You have a cabinet, you have all that. Give me the inventory at that node, and you would have multiple rows for that node. One would be OLT, one would be cabinet, one would be, and then if there's makes and manufacturers. Does that answer your question, Macy?
Well, from a data
So,
perspective, it's actually a lot easier to just have overlapping points. Because like list attributes aren't supported by a lot of file formats.
okay.
So it's not adding, yeah, but I mean, I could try to do it that way. Overlapping points would be a lot easier though.
Overlapping points. Okay, let me get a clarification if overlapping points would be
Well,
okay, and then
and
we'll
then
get back
just
to
to
you.
follow up on the other person who chimed in, I mean, are you guys needing cabinets? Because I mean, that's just my assumption because they're listed there in the node equipment inventory table description. But I mean, is that true that you do need cabinets? Because I mean, if you don't need cabinets, then my whole this whole point is moot. So
Yeah, the cabinet's there, but I would draw a point for it and the OLT and everything else. I'd have one point. And then what's there?
yeah, so like what's CDO needing?
Can I ask someone to define the word cabinet?
The way that my network engineer and I understand it is essentially the housing that would enclose the OLT.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't think that, I think we put that in there, or our engineers put that in there as an example, but when you're looking at it, you're going to have some type of enclosure, a cabinet of some type at every one of your nodes, whether it be a
Right.
building or a cabinet. So that's probably not a good example in the inventory.
So so we don't need to include any types of enclosure. We just need to list the OLTs.
Yeah, I don't think the enclosure is going to determine your capabilities there. It may determine your safety as far as how safe and secure your equipment is, but I don't think it's going to do anything other than that.
Okay, so are you confirming that we don't need to provide you with points for cabinets?
I am going to find out.
Okay.
But I'm making that assumption now, and I'm going to confirm that. Yes.
Okay. I think that's all for my interrogation
Okay.
at the moment. Thanks,
All
Michael.
right. Well, and it looks like there is someone else on the call that's agreeing with you, Macy, on doing multiple nodes that overlap. So I will get that answer as soon as possible and get that out to everyone. I hope to have it tomorrow so I can tell everybody on the call tomorrow overlapping cabinets or no, or how. Okay? Of course, you'd think that I could make that decision on my own, huh? Is there anyone that would not prefer overlapping for nodes if there's multiple types of equipment at a node.
Yep.
Okay. Cynthia, you would not want overlapping. Okay.
How about we just let everybody do it the way they want?
Uh,
Come on.
now you're hurting.
And not just that, for the whole program, right?
Chances are you probably have a bunch already turned in that are mixed. So you probably already have this back.
We've had several turned in. Unfortunately, we did not make sure that they had the right template and attributes. So we didn't have some of these to go by. So I had to ask them to relook at it. And unfortunately, it was a timing thing. They had started and I never got the message to them somehow that we had updated it. So they didn't give me one. So at this time, we're hoping to get our first good one here soon. And that's why we wanted to have this special sessions because we haven't received one yet. So we wanted to make sure that we were trying to be as clear as possible and get everybody level set at the same starting point, which I think we struggled with. Yes, Laura.
So, Michael, you mentioned that you haven't received a GIS package yet that meets what CBO is looking for. So, based on the questions that you've gotten today, are there any that we maybe didn't cover that have come up in your review of those GIS shapefiles?
No, I'll tell you, if I think looking at the GIS files of the ones that we have received, had they had these attributes in this file, I think it would have been a great start. I mean, it was really good. It just didn't have all the attributes because they didn't have the attributes file, the correct one. Does that answer your question, Laura?
It does. Thank you.
Okay. Kate?
Hey, I thought we had uploaded a file in alignment with these attributes. And so I hadn't heard of anything being sent back yet. So I just
I
wanted
have not. If you've uploaded it, I haven't seen all of the files yet that of part of the package or haven't been notified. So, Kate, I'll go back and check, but I don't remember seeing any type of notification that says everything has been uploaded. I don't start reviewing and start passing things over to others to review until I get that notification. So if you've sent that and I've missed it, please let me know.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Yep. Let's see, David. Once you've approved submission on this with the other few docs, are you guys ready to start issuing contracts? Or are there any gating factors at this time? The gating factors, we received the final draft, I think that's been approved for the agreement. We need to upload that, David. And we are making a change in the system to use Conga sign for the signatures on the grant agreements and generation of grant agreements. So we're probably about, I want to say 2 weeks to 3 weeks out. So we're still looking at the end of March being able to generate grant agreements for review. Once we get through all the reviews of these documents and can move forward.
And just for clarity's sake, we are sending a couple of things through external review. And sorry, Michael, if I'm repeating something you just said because I stepped away from the screen. The network designs, we do an initial look, and then we send them off to the engineers to double check. And then also there is a letter of credit review as well, a surety review. So just because you've turned them in doesn't mean necessarily that we're going to be able to issue a grant agreement right away. So those are the gating criteria. You have everything that you need is listed in the checklist on the onboarding guide, but we do have a little bit of background work to do. Send it out.
Yep. Yeah, we're trying to review them as they come in. I will tell you that it's it's been a game. It's been a challenge. Anything else?
For that like formal email that we're supposed to send to you after we upload everything, is that to the advance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Kate. I remember seeing something, but it didn't have everything. It said that there were still a couple items remaining. So that's the reason I'd held off. So if that had been uploaded and corrected, I never did remember. I don't remember seeing anything. So that would be the reason, Kate. If you could just help me out there, that would be great.
It could be that I didn't email you. I didn't know that. Sorry, missed that
Yeah,
step.
no
Thanks.
problem. No problem. Yeah, I try to go through and check, but I'll tell you, I hit and miss as far as picking one that has uploaded information, and a notification would definitely help point me in the right direction, please. Well, I hope this was a little bit helpful and help clarify and clear up some of the continued confusion and misinformation, if you will, because we quite honestly we had some information that wasn't correct and we've corrected it. It's just timing wise and everything. We kept pushing you to get things done, so we appreciate all your hard work and apologize for any rework that we create.
I think Chris has his hand up, Michael.
Oh, okay.
Quick question. I saw this was being recorded. How do we get a copy of it?
It'll be posted with all of the other office hours on our website. Drop a link for you.
Yeah. If the website that I sent you on in the chat there, if you go back to that website, you should see recordings and slides. It should be posted in here in this section right here, Chris.
Thank you.
Yep.
And then the other thing that I just wanted to mention, I think we've mentioned it on office hours as well, is we really appreciate the work that you guys are doing, that you're putting into the network design on the front end. We are hoping that we will be able to use this network design for lots of different things. So hopefully it'll be usable for both our NEPA review, so you don't need to resubmit unless there are changes. Both for our internal NEPA review and then upload. So thanks for spending the time on it, because we're anticipating that it's really going to streamline the process. So.
All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for today and appreciate your patience and all the questions for clarification, and look forward to reviewing these network designs going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.